Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. Welcome to the week. You know, February is just an astrological banner month in the year, and maybe you don't feel ready for it. Maybe you feel sad or intense or scared or insert any emotion here. You know, change is hard. Being moved is even harder. And this astrology is really asking and working with us to dismantle what does not work anymore. So as we're watching the news, as we're hearing conflicting stories, as we're all trying to make sense of a world that has stopped making sense, I think that it is very prudent to remind you that astrology is going to do what it's going to do in the sky, whether we're ready for the change or not. And that these podcasts are not designed to scare you, to stress you out, to worry you, to make you think bad thoughts. It's more around awareness. I get a lot of questions about that. I've had people say that they feel that Mercury retrograde, for example, puts negativity out in the world, that maybe it is the very notion of acknowledging the Mercury retrograde that makes things hard in the first place. And I politely and very kindly disagree. I think that if we want to turn away from what's hard, if we want to live in la la land, I think that's great. I commend you. Go forth and live in the land of la. But for me, I believe that whether you're paying attention to it or not, the astrology is going to astrologize. It's going to do it. It's going to move. It's going to change and shift and guide us. And it is the awareness, it is our approach to the awareness that makes all the difference. I think that when hard things happen in our lives, like if we've gotten dumped, or if we've lost a close friendship, or if our cat dies, or if something really hard happens in our lives, that we can't control the hard thing always that's happening in our life, but we can guide, steer, and move what is transforming inside of us. Not to take away the pain, not to avoid the discomfort, not to paint it through rose-colored glasses, but rather to embrace and exalt ourselves in process. That it is really the process of being human that keeps us here on this planet evolving. So welcome to the process, everybody. And this is a week. It really is. It is one of those weeks that I feel sets us up for an even bigger week. And then a bigger week. It's like it builds on itself. The thing I want to talk about the most is Pisces, because there is this ending of Pisces with Neptune and Saturn moving on out of Pisces and into Aries, and their conjunction next week, which is completely dismantling of the world, of us, of our insides. So allow that dismantling to gently ease us in this week. Allow the screws that are in your soul joints to loosen and start to squeak and shift, and try to guess, try to maneuver, try to move with where that change is headed interpersonally for you. We can't necessarily control or change how it is going to dismantle our government, our world, all of that, but we can feel into what is dismantling inside of us. So first, what I love is Tuesday. Venus is moving into Pisces. And I love that because Venus is exalted in Pisces. It is a very make art, not war kind of sentiment. Mercury is also going to be in Pisces, and it is in its fall. Mercury right now isn't in a strong place in Pisces, whereas Venus is. So I want us to see our thoughts and our love coming together to guide us. I want us to feel moved this week. This is your homework. Feel something, anything. Listen to the good music. write the good poetry, read the good novels, really attune and align yourself to what is beautiful about being richly human and alive in this world, because that is what fortifies us for the dismantling of the next week, where an eclipse is upon us, where life begins to change in ways that we could have never guessed or quantified. But for now, I like to see Venus as lifting up Mercury, that our thoughts are tired and achy and unclear. And Venus says, good, make a poem out of it. Narrate your life in a way that accepts and allows in the beautiful horrors of what it is to be terribly flawed and to be numb or scared, to be everything that's on the rainbow of emotions, to enjoy that it is our right as beautiful, beating-hearted humans to get the full spectrum. And the gang's all here, guys. The feelings, the fears, the conundrums, the crisis of thought, of belief system, of structure, the attachment releasing that is going on right now. The only way to combat it is through our love and through art and through what it was and is to live in an imperfect, ugly, cruel, beautiful world. That's your homework this week. I need poetry. Send me some. I need love. Give some. Hug more. Have some compassion for the person in line ahead of you. I know that there are big world problems right now, but that is when we need to master the taming power of the small, how we greet our day and our mornings and our people and our strangers, how we decide to move in this world from here on forward is so important. And two, how we feel about it all. Because Jupiter too is in Cancer, who is also exalted there. And so you have our planet of good luck and tidings, Jupiter, and our planet of love and art, Venus, in exalted states right now. So I want us to really take that in, that as hard as life may feel right now, as uncertain as it is, as dismantling as it indeed will be, that we hold the structure of love and abundance inside of us to help us move the dial forward. That it is so important that when we are hurting, we are also philosophizing on our hurt. That I would invite all of you to be willing to change, that I invite all of you to be willing to push in to what is hurting right now and see where in your body that hurt is, where in your soul, where in your life, where in your daily actions are things heavy, sticky, hard, and I want you to push into them. I want you to write about them. I want you to scream about them, sing about them, call a friend and talk about them. Because Mercury in Pisces isn't specific, okay? Like, we're not going to be getting, we're not going to be winning any awards for thought organization. Everything is messy and in the subtle realm and less quantifiable and more humanly felt. And with Jupiter in Cancer, it expands what it touches, Jupiter does. And in Cancer, it is our feelings. It is our heart. It is our emotions. So we must press in. We must expand. We must allow ourselves to be the squishy, spongy, glorious sponge-like beings that we are, and allow the moisture of our happenstance, of our hurts, of what's really going on to expand us, not contract us. That it is time to fill up inside. And we can only do that through our own iterations. We can only do that through our own testament of what we've been through, because nobody knows what we've been through but us. Nobody knows all the thoughts that go through our minds but us. And with Mercury in Pisces, the ask is to have a less hold and control on our thoughts and more free form, free flow with our intuitive knowing self. And then to make art as a result of that. That even if you're not an artist, we all find our own art form in the very living of our lives. How can you make a bed like Picasso? Oh boy, that wouldn't be good. That bed would be busted. But you know what I'm saying. How do you do dishes to John Coltrane? How do you wash your hair in the moonlight with memories of your first kiss? These are the things I'm talking about, that nothing has to be a straight line. You can bring past, present, future feelings all together to just enjoy and enrich yourself this week. That for whatever is hurting, there is equally something beautiful that is going on inside you too. And my invitation is to swap them, that whatever is beautiful make ugly, and whatever is ugly inside to make beautiful, and to find out that true love, unconditional love, is being okay with both, is being able to make beauty out of your ugly, and being able to take that ugly part of yourself and hug it and have compassion for it and make art out of it and release it to then come back again, because we are never fully healed beings. Anybody that tells me they are a healed person, well, that's just somebody who's on track for their next big life change, I say, because there is no part of life that is made to be stagnant. We are not made to be small, and we are not made to do the same thing every single day. So the invitation is to take what is uncomfortable, to take what is sticky and dark and ugly, and turn it into the light within you, the desire that wants to move, the notion that even if there is something ugly inside you, that ugly thing is also in equal parts what makes you beautiful, is self-forgiveness and compassion. And you give it to yourself, and then you take that ball of beauty and you give it to others. And that is the requirement this week. Give it. Give the beauty, give the ugly, let it be out in the open, unleash it, take off its collar, and let a bitch go and see what gets mirrored back. Because the truth is, we're so afraid to change that we micromanage our daily life and actions to try to hide or put a scarf over that mirror of what's really going on inside of us. If you could actually believe that even what is going on in America right now is a reflection of what you deny inside of yourself, that's the first step to big soul transformation. That we are all players in this game, and we all set this train in motion. And now the contract is to ride it gracefully, is to dismantle it too when it no longer serves, is to take our screwdrivers and unhook the ways in which we've always thought that it had to be, to see what could be on the other side of expectation of what we already know. Because there is a whole world, a whole universe of things we don't know yet. If you think about history, if you think about where we were 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the leaps and bounds of our soul, human brain evolution is astronomically speedy and crazy and ever shifting. And if we can trust that the only thing we can trust is change, well, that's when Jupiter in Cancer and Venus in Pisces come in and say, we must flow like the river. We must allow. And even when things go upstream, we must be like the fish and trust that it is that struggle, that it is in the very struggling that we find the calmer waters. So that's this week, no big deal, right? There's a lot of energy and a directive in Pisces saying when things aren't always clear, it is very important to get philosophical about it, to get artistic about it, to dance about it, to sing about it, to find context for where it's touching you in a place that currently feels unreachable, unquantifiable. And that's kind of beautiful. And also, we have Saturn is finishing up its time in Pisces. So these Piscean lessons are feeling extra potent this week, because then Saturn goes into Aries, and it is going to have a conjunction with Neptune on the 20th of February that is the most dismantling astrology we've seen in a great long while. Good, bad, ugly, beautiful, it's all of it. All of it. So we're feeling all of that. And then on Sunday, the sun squares Uranus, which can feel very disruptive. So we end our week in a very disrupted way. We feel like the status quo just won't serve anymore. And this is what I am here to talk about, is that we cannot keep things the same anymore. There is too much astrology saying that everything must change. And if you are someone who does not like change, this is crazy times. Crazy times we're living in. This week we have a Friday the 13th, which I know some people find unlucky. I find it an incredibly witchy, beautiful opportunity to dig into those long-standing fears. Why do you think Friday the 13th is unlucky? Why do we think black cats crossing our path? These superstitions that I love so much. When you spill salt, you throw it over your shoulder. There's all of these reasons around superstitions, but what I boil superstition down to is intention. Is that we are putting focused intention on something that is happening, good or bad. And I really like to turn those negative ones around and to understand that if a black cat's crossing my path, maybe it's asking me to be more aware. If an owl comes into my, center of being, it's said to be a death omen. Well, the owl also represents my mom, and she already did. So I see it as the messenger. I see the black cat as the messenger. I see spilling salt as a moment to take pause. And I see Friday the 13th as a day to exalt, because it is all about your focused intention. It is all about what you are willing to put into the soup. I love soup. I think that in the olden days when we used to just put all of our leftovers in a pot and then we had this big leftover pot is a really interesting reference for just who we are as humans. That on some level, we are our own leftovers, that we are scooping up all of our life experiences. We are becoming the soup of ourselves. And sometimes we just need to throw the whole damn bowl away. Some of that stuff gets freaking nasty in there, all right? Like sometimes you get nasty in there, nasty inside yourself, nasty inside your soul. Sometimes the hate in this world, those Epstein files, that horrible president, that contrasting belief systems that seem to make nothing make sense, the hypocrisy of it all, the hate of it all, the hurt of it all, the pain of it all can only reach such a level before you say, what about the beauty of it all? How do I scoop out the remnants of my soup to start anew? That sometimes we just need to know when it is time to throw the soup out. That sometimes we just need to know when it's time to salt it better. That really life comes down, good or bad, to timing, and boy, are we timed out. We are reaching a destination that is also a new beginning and a point of no return. Do you feel that? And if you do feel that, where are you feeling that in your body, in your life, in your soul? And how, with the only homework I'm going to give you this week, will you make it beautiful? Will you find a way to describe it, to paint it, to exist with it in beauty instead of just in darkness? Because I'll tell you, why are we all so attracted to the painful stuff, to the horrifying historical fiction, to the poetry that hurts so good? Why do we like that so much? We like it so much because it speaks to the resonance inside of us, that the dark that is on the outside in this world is also the dark that is in us. And we are drawn to it, moths to flames. We are drawn to what needs to be worked through, worked on, and we can't lie about it anymore. Because no matter what side you're on, there's darkness on both ends. And we only find respite through change, through finding a middle ground, through finding the subtle lines that can slice between the contrast of one side or another. That really the attachment to being right is the problem in the first place. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about a time, or if you're driving, please don't close your eyes. Just think about it. A time in your life when you had to fight for something, when you felt that you were so right that you were willing to fight for that and that you fought endlessly for it. And what did the fighting feel like? And now I want you to think of the outcome. What was the outcome of that fight? And I'll tell you that it's very dependent on what work you were willing to do, both at the beginning, middle, and end of that fight that rendered a positive or negative outcome. Because no matter what we are fighting for, if we do not hold ourselves accountable for our part in it, then we will never understand it. And we will never be able to find peace, because we will become the darkness, the dark part of that. That one can start out righteous and very easily, very quickly fall from grace when the notion of being right becomes more important than finding the center. I've been thinking a lot about this as some of our notable figures are being called out in the Epstein files. I've thought about it as Michael Fronte got called out, and as Nako got called out, and as now Deepak Chopra has been called out. And it begs the notion of, can you reach such powerful heights? Can you be so much light that eventually you become the dark? That absolute power corrupts absolutely, that we don't all start out bad, that there are good people that become bad and bad people that become good, that this is all part of the human experience, that this is all part of being in the soup together. It's just knowing when to throw out the goddamn soup. And boy, am I ready for a good toss. The card I pulled for this time is happy, happy. I love that. That kind of surprises me, pulling out happy, happy. And I think that's because what I want to speak to is, if you can turn on a more neutral observer, if you can look at your life from a non-attached standpoint and other people's, if you can look at the worst thing someone has ever done to you and find the other side of it, the lightness in them, well, then you can find it in yourself too, all the time. Been doing a lot of hot yoga lately. Not because I love it, but because I feel that there's nowhere else to go for me but in the physical world, that I need to, that there's so much going on that the only way to cope in my own little self is to expel it through my body. But we say, obviously, in yoga, namaste, which is the light in me sees the light in you. And I don't think that we need to put parameters on that. I don't think that only the good people sees the light in me and I see the light in them. It's humanity. That we have to see the light in each other, that we have to trust in the light, that even the most monstrous of people also have brilliance and insight and light too. Thinking of all of those people that I had looked up to before finding out about their darkness. And does that make what they contributed to the world less because they turned into the very darkest parts of themselves? Does that make them less? Does that make me more because I would never do such a thing? I think that these are very important questions to be asking ourselves in trying times. That we can't always be on the higher ground, that at some point in your life, you have been on that low road. And what would you have wanted from someone on the high road to have done to help you find your way back? If we're not interested in rehabilitation, if we're not interested in understanding that what lives inside those monsters also lives inside us, then we get no further to finding a new paradigm. We're no richer than they are. We're just the same for keeping ourselves closed. And that doesn't make us light. It actually makes us dark. These are all things I'm thoughtful about. And as Venus is exalted in Pisces and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, I ask you to go deep, deep, deep down and find some lost, hidden emotions that need to come to the surface, because when the sun squares Uranus on Sunday, boy, are we going to be ready to burst. But instead of just letting the astrology control us, I want us to take the astrology and say, I am going to become my own fate, my own destiny, my own soldier riding into my own battles, and I will take responsibility, and I will give lash for lash as I receive it as well. And then I'm going to make some art, and I'm going to love harder. And I'm going to try to find the other end of the ribbon of dark and light so that I can find the in-between to make that beautiful bow that holds it all together, that is humanity, that is us. Thank you so much for listening. These are hard times. I think that we would all do ourselves a great service by investing in art, by creating art and music, and by loving each other just that much more, and by taking 5 more deep breaths than we did the day before. I hope you find your art and your deep breaths and your light as you are also exploring your dark. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, book me for a reading. In these hard times, there's very specific astrology going on right now, which means it is hitting your chart very specifically. And so if you'd like to know where all of this is asking you to grow and create and bring up all of the things that are ready to be healed, please book a reading with me. You can DM me on any of my social platforms. You can email me at jasmineleeastrology@gmail.com. And I so very much look forward to letting the stars guide you and continue to guide me. I'll see you next week.